All right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling one of the biggest and, most important conversations happening in technology right now, the ethics of artificial intelligence. As AI gets smarter and kind of woven into everything we do, we've got to ask some really tough questions. Like, how do we use it safely? And how do we make sure it's fair for everyone? So, just so you know where we are, this is all part of a bigger course. It's Chapter 7 from An Introduction to Artificial Intelligence for students ages 12 to 15. And for this chapter, we're really zeroing in on the ethics, which honestly is kind of the heart of the whole thing. Okay, you have definitely heard this one before, right? With great power comes great responsibility. It's maybe the most perfect way to think about AI. This technology is incredibly, mind-blowingly powerful. And that means we, all of us, have a huge responsibility to make sure it's actually used for good. So when we say AI ethics, what are we really talking about? Well, it's not just some boring philosophical idea. Nope. It's all about the real-world impact. It's about how AI affects our actual lives. Everything from who gets a job interview to what videos pop up on their feed. It's really just about making sure these super powerful tools actually help people and don't end up causing a bunch of harm. To help us get our heads around this, we can kind of break it down into 4 big core questions. First, privacy. Like, who owns all our data? Then there's fairness and bias. Is the AI treating everyone the same? Next, transparency. Can we even understand why an AI made a certain decision? And finally, accountability. When an AI messes up, who's responsible? We're about to look at some real stories that show exactly why these questions are so important. So what happens when we don't ask those questions? What happens when AI gets it wrong? Well, things can get messy. Let's look at some real-world challenges. All right, first up, a case study. Picture this. A huge tech company decides to build an AI to help them hire people. The goal was great. They wanted to make hiring faster and maybe even fairer by having an AI scan all the resumes. Sounds like a pretty smart idea, right? Well, so here's what happened. They trained the AI on 10 years' worth of their old hiring data. But, and this is a big but, that data was already biased. Most of the people they'd hired in the past were men. So what did the AI learn? It learned to prefer men. It literally started automatically giving lower scores to resumes that came from women. The whole system was so biased they had to just scrap it completely. This is a perfect example of that whole fairness and bias thing. The AI is kind of like a mirror. It just reflects the biases that are already there in the data we give it. And if we don't like what we see in the mirror, well, we have to fix the real-world problem first. Okay, next up, let's talk about something you probably use every single day. Facial recognition. It unlocks our phones, right? But it's also used for much more serious stuff, like by law enforcement. So here's the critical question. What happens if that technology doesn't see everyone equally? Yeah, this is another huge fairness problem. Study after study has shown that a lot of these facial recognition systems are way less accurate for people with darker skin tones, for women, and even for older folks. And this isn't just some small glitch, you guys. This can lead to absolutely devastating things, like people being falsely accused of crimes or even wrongfully arrested. The lesson here is crystal clear. If the data we use to train an AI isn't diverse, if it doesn't represent everybody, then the AI itself simply cannot be fair, period. And for our last case study, let's circle back to that first big question we talked about, privacy. This one affects every single one of us every day. It's about our data. You see, AI systems are, well, they're hungry. They need tons and tons of data to learn. But where on earth does all that data come from? Well, a lot of it comes from you, from us. Every single time you use an app, watch a video, or just scroll through a website, you're creating a digital trail. Data about your habits, what you like, what you don't, and that information is super valuable. It can be collected, sold, hacked, or even used to train AI systems that might try to manipulate you later on. And a lot of the time, we don't even know it's happening. This is exactly why we need strong, clear rules about how our personal data is used. Okay, so we've looked at some pretty serious problems, right? It can feel a little bit overwhelming. But here's the good news. We are not helpless here. Making AI responsible isn't just a job for the coders and the tech geniuses. It's a team effort. And guess what? Everyone has a part to play. And what's really cool is how we can break this down. It's not just one group's job. Look, as individuals, we can learn more about this stuff and be smarter about our privacy. Then you have the companies. They've got to build diverse teams and make their AI understandable, transparent. And then, as a whole society, we need to create smart laws and regulations to make sure there's accountability. See? No one group can fix this all by themselves. We all have to work together. And this all brings us to the most important part of this whole conversation. It starts with you. Seriously, your generation is the first one growing up with AI as just a normal part of life. That means you have a massive role to play in deciding what its future looks like. So, you might be thinking, okay, but what can I actually do? Well, here are 4 things you can start doing right now. First, educate yourself. And hey, by being here, you're already taking a huge first step, so that's awesome. Second, protect your privacy. Just think for a second before you share personal stuff online. Third, question AI. Don't just blindly accept what it tells you. If an algorithm suggests something, ask yourself, why this? And fourth, advocate for change. Support the companies and the rules that you think are doing a good job with ethical AI. So I want to leave you with a final thought, kind of like a challenge. Imagine you were in charge. If you got to design an AI for your school, maybe to help with scheduling or even help with homework, what would be your ethical rules? What would you tell it to do to make sure it was fair for every student, totally safe, and respected everyone's privacy? Seriously, thinking about questions just like that, that's exactly how we start building a better, more ethical future with AI. Thanks so much for joining me.